Hello, everybody, and welcome to Learning Things with me, Dan. Today's episode of Learning Things, I want to open up Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and I'm going to create exercise 1. All right, so let's close Photoshop and let's open up Illustrator. First thing to note when you open up Illustrator, you want to create new, creates a new document, and you want to create a document that is letter size, 11 by 8.5. So 11. So just type in 11, 8.5 inches. Make sure inches is chosen here. Okay. And make sure it is 11 inches by 8.5. Landscape like this. And create. All right, here we go. So first thing I'm going to do is save the document because I want to make sure that we keep this. So save it wherever makes sense to you. And remember that you're naming it last name. So your last name underscore first name underscore x1 for exercise 1. And I'll hit save. And make sure that it's Adobe Illustrator AI right here. Save. All right. Good. Now, if you remember, we want to make sure that we have this set up so that we now have the composition. We want to set up the two square areas that we're going to be putting our boxes into. So I want to make sure that everything is aligned properly. So do the math, make sure that it all makes sense to you. Look at the briefing, the project brief in Slate, and make sure that that you understand it and that you're setting this up accurately. So you can literally just follow along, do what I do, and you're going to be setting up your document perfectly. So I know that I'm going to need a couple more layers here. Oh, by the way, let's do this. I want to make sure that I have my workspace. Let's just set my workspace to typography. You might not have transform in the corner here. If that's the case, okay, I'm just going to move my box in a little bit here so that I can see everything, so that you can see everything. Let's just say that I don't have transform here. Okay, so this is maybe how you're going to see, or this is what you're going to see. I want to make sure that I have transform in the side. It's very important for this. So window, transforms at the bottom, click that, and you'll see a box. So what I'm going to do is, just because I don't want this in the way of my layout as I'm making this, I'm just going to drag it over to the side, and it automatically, when you see that blue thing appear, that means it's going to stick it right there. That's great. Now I've got it visible. I want to be able to see the X and Y axis here. There's other ways to do this, and I think in class I probably had transform at the top. I'm just doing it like this just to make sure that I can see the X and Y axis. I want it visible. I want to be able to play with it a lot. Okay, I need rulers. Let's get some rulers here. So in view, scroll down to the bottom, show rulers. And now I need to drag out my ruler. So I'm just going to be sloppy. I'm just going to drop in some rulers. I know that I've got top and bottom for my square. And I know that I need a margin here, a margin there, and I'm going to need some margins in between. Okay, now this definitely doesn't look like two box shapes. It doesn't look like squares. So what I'm going to do is select my guides. And if you look at this, actually, let's just go back to here. So now in layers, so I just went over to the right-hand side here, this menu. This is the layers icon. Click on that. I know I'm going to need a couple more layers in there, so I'll just hit plus at the bottom here, and it adds layers. I go to the bottom. So this is the layer that I just put all these guides into. So let's just call that guides. So double click on the name layer, and I'll put in guides. Good. Now I'm going to hide this, and I want to make sure that my guides are in the right spot. So if I do my math, I need an inch here, inch in the middle, inch on the other side. So in the x-axis, you'll see there's a number there. What I'll do is I'm actually going to type in 1 inch there, hit enter, and you can see it just pops right into the 1 inch mark. What you'll also notice, I'll just point this out quickly, is that if when the rulers open up, you'll see that there's 0, 0. So the origin mark is at the top left. If yours isn't or moves around for some reason, you can actually get it back there by just clicking on this corner part. Okay. This is important because I can actually move it around. If I want to, I can make the origin here. And you'll see now 0 starts here and there. But that's a mistake. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to click back on here, double click, and now I'm back. Okay, so I want to set all these up. So this one I know that I want to have at the, let's just make sure I can see my whole surface here. Good. I want to have this at the 10-inch mark. So let's just highlight that. We'll type in 10. Enter. And I know that I want this at the 5-inch mark. So let's just go in there and hit 5. And I want this at the 6-inch mark. Okay. Now, I want to make sure that this on the y-axis is in the right position. So we were talking about this in class. So it's 8.5 inches minus the 4-inch square. So we're trying to determine where the position of this guide is. That would make this, so the space that's left over, 8.5 inches minus 4 is 4.5. So half that on the top and bottom. So half of 4.5 is 2.25. So let's go to the y-axis here and put 2.25. Enter. And then I want this to be at the, so 2.25 plus the 4 inches, so 6.25. So if you set up your guides like this, you will have everything in the right position. Okay, now we're done with guides. Let's lock the layer. So beside the eyeball, there's a little space. Click on that, and now it's locked. Let's go to the next one. Let's actually make our frames. So we'll call this frames. Good, and I'm actually going to add another one here. I'm going to call this contents. And actually, might as well keep going with this, so let's name the last one text. Okay, so let's go back to frames. We know that we need 2 4x4 inch frames. So what I'm going to do is click on the rectangle tool, and I want to make sure, so I'm going to go down here, the stroke. You can see there's a red line through. That means there's no fill and no stroke. So if I make a square now, it'll just be empty, and you can see it is. So I'm going to undo, Command Z, or Control Z for PC. But I want to actually make this black. So how do you make it black? Select it. I'm going to go to this. So this is swatches. This is your color palette. But I'm going to go to swatches. There's some preloaded colors here. This is black. Perfect. So now I've got a black. And for the stroke, so people were asking in class, well, how wide do you make the stroke? How thick is the stroke? Well, you can do it. So up at the top here, that's the style. That's not stroke. I need stroke. Over here. There we go. So it says it's preloaded to 1 point. And yeah, that's good. You can actually make it wider if you want. It's up to you. Do you know what? I like to have stroke here in the side. So let's go to Window and let's get stroke. And so it pops up. Oh, it popped up over in the corner. What I can do is I actually want this to be in my menu. So if I just drag it from here, go in there, I'm going to stick gradient in there as well. So the reason why I'm doing this is I actually want the stroke to be on the inside. You can see there's different ways that you can have the stroke. I'm going to choose this. I'm going to make it on the inside. Now I need a square. So 2 ways I can do it. I've selected my rectangle tool. I can actually draw a rectangle, but that's imperfect because I want this to be exactly 4x4. So instead, I'm just going to click once. And now a little extra little box here shows up. I'm going to make that 4, and I'm going to make it 4. And I'm going to say, OK. And I'm going to stick it over here. Now, I was showing in class that I can zoom in and actually position it perfectly if I want to. The other way to do this is in View. I've got Snap to Point, Snap to Pixel selected. what that, and I think it's this, to be honest, I can't remember which one it is that does it. I think it's a snap to pixel that actually snaps it to that. So you can see it just kind of jumps right in and it aligns, so I don't have to eyeball it. Okay, so I've got my frame number 1 in place. How do I make frame number 2? Well, I'm going to actually do Object, Transform, Move. I'm going to move it. I know I want to move it an inch over, so I have to get this point of my square to be over here. So that's, it has to move 4 inches plus 1, so 5 inches. So I'm going to go 5 inches horizontal. And you can see it gives me a preview. That's where it's going to go. Yes, that's what I want. But if I just hit OK, it's only going to move it. I don't want to just move it. I want to actually copy it. So let's go transform, move. I want it to move 5 inches, and I'm going to hit copy. Good. Frame's done. I don't recommend that you go any thicker than 1 inch, or sorry, 1 point in the stroke. And to be honest, I actually like going even thinner. Let's go 0.5. Good. Because the idea is in design, we don't want this to be a distracting thing. It's just a container. It's containing your artwork. Okay, that takes care of frames. Let's lock that up. Text. So we know we want text here. I don't care about the font. And you can see what I did was I just selected T, the type tool on the side. And as soon as I make a box, it autofills. Now that I'm doing that, yours might not be set to that. I like to have it set to that because I need, when I'm doing a layout, it actually helps me to see how text actually fits into a space. We can talk about that later. It's a design thing. It doesn't really matter for our purposes today. But I've got a text box here. It's in the text. And by the way, I know that my text box is on the text layer because I've got a little green dot here. So I didn't determine, like I'm not setting these colors. I can actually customize these colors. Illustrator's just making it, making my text layer green. Yours might be different. It doesn't really matter. Illustrator just kind of gives it whatever default color it wants to. So I'm going to highlight this, or if you don't have any text in there, if yours isn't set to autofill, it's just going to be an empty box. So click in there and then type out your word. So let's just say it's ferocious. Or hold on. I'm just trying to think what was the opposite of ferocious. Oh, I can't remember right now. Do you know what? I'm going to call it crowded. Just because I actually remember what those two words were. Right now, I don't have it in front of me. So what's the font? So here's how I can determine the font. So go up here in character. So way over here on the right, click that little A. And it's telling me now that my font is Myriad Pro. That's fine. I mean, I can choose anything I want. Don't have to get fancy. Myriad Pro is the default. Sure, let's do that. Text size, I wouldn't go any smaller than 8 point. Just as a rule of thumb, whenever you're designing something, as a designer, it's good to start with 12 point. And that seems like that's the default. Let's just leave it at that. That's great. Okay, now I need this to be aligned. Again, I can eyeball it. I can just kind of make it look like it's there. We're not going to eyeball it though. I'm going to show you a different way that we can make sure that everything is aligned. Now, I also need to make sure that if I'm going to label this one, I've got to label the other one. So this time I'm going to drag this. I'm going to hold down Shift, which holds it on the same level. So now vertically it's locked. And then if I hit, as I'm dragging it, I'm still holding down my button. As I'm dragging it, I'm also going to hit, so I'm holding down Shift, I'm going to hit Option. And that makes a copy. Okay, so the alternative is I go, I can hit copy. Actually, let's do that. Let's do it the keyboard way. I'll do Command C, Command V. So that's copy paste. But now it just kind of copied it and pasted it wherever. I'm going to pull it down here And I'm going to replace that text to say alone. Good. Okay, so now we've got these two, but they're not aligned. Let's first align them with each other. So I'll position this one. I think I want it to be around there. So now I'm going to select both of them. At the top, there's align. There should be an align feature here at the side, and that's what I typically use, the side features. So I want these to be aligned. Do I want them to be aligned this way? No, that's wrong. Do I want this way? No. This way? No. It's actually this way we want it to be aligned. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to undo, Command Z. Good. So I'm going to select this and top align. Okay, so now we know that they're aligned with each other, but they're not aligned with the boxes. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to unlock frames. I'm going to select these two. Now I want these two to be aligned. So I'll go back here, align, and presto, done. Do the same with this one. I'm selecting these. And by the way, when I do this, it's marquee selection. It means that I'm holding down, I'm clicking and holding down to select these two, and then align. Good. So now I've got the boxes. I got the frames. I got the titles, the text. So frames and text. And I'm going to lock these all up because these aren't going to move. Okay, here's the next step. So this, I may have done this slightly different in class. But I found that this is the best way. This is the easiest way to do this. So first of all, we've done a lot of work here. Let's save it. I'm going to create a new. So let's just backtrack. What I'm doing is I'm hitting new. I actually hit on my keyboard Command N, and you can see that creates a new file. I want this to be, so this is going to be the contents. So let's call it 4" by 4". Again, make sure inches is selected, and we're going to hit create. Okay, what I'm going to do is this is going to be the contents. I'll show you how this is all going to come together in a bit, but let's focus on what the contents are going to be. So you've got your rough sketches, and you want this to look like the rough sketch. So let's first get our square shapes. So we know that the squares have to be black. So I go down here. It looks like it's got fill is white. I don't want it to be white. I want it to be black. But here's what we can do. You see this little flip tool? It says swap fill and stroke. If I hit that, now it's black fill, white stroke. White fill, black stroke. Let's go to black fill because we want that, but we don't want a white stroke on these squares. None of the squares should have white stroke. There should be no stroke on them. So now I want to make sure that this is clear. So I will hit this. What that does is now there's no stroke, but it's black fill. That's what I want. Okay, same as before. I've got my rectangle tool selected. I'm going to do this slightly different. I could just click on here and then say I want to make squares exactly a certain size. I'm not going to do that. Instead, and I've got my mouse. I think I've lost my mouse here. I've been using my trackpad here. I'm going to use my mouse here. I'm going to make a square shape. So I just undid that. The way you do it is you click and then drag. And it's same as the selection tool. But you see, how do I make it exactly square? By holding down Shift. So if I hold down Shift, now it's going to be a square shape no matter what size it is. Let go of Shift, and it kind of goes into whatever shape it wants to make it. Hold down Shift, and it makes it square. Okay, so I want to constrain the square. Now I've got a square shape. Now I can just draw a bunch more, same way. Or I can actually copy paste. So I think I'm going to do the copy paste method. So the way you do that is you take it and you hold down Option. And then when you let go, you've got a copy. So I can do it again, same thing. I'll do it again 2 more times. Let's just leave it at that. So now I've got my 4 squares. Okay, look at your, now you've got a first layout. Let's call this one File save, and I want to save it in the same spot, but I'm going to call this one crowded. Crowded, save. Okay. So, like I said, you can't, the only things you can do with these squares is you can rotate them, and you'll notice if I just kind of go over to that square, you'll notice that when I get close to these nodes, and let me zoom in just to show you. When I get close to these nodes here on the sides, okay, you get these arrow shapes. And what you want to do is you want to move just beyond it until it turns into this like curvy shape. As soon as it's the curvy shape, now you can rotate. Okay, so I can just get close to it, curvy shape, and now when I click and then drag, I can rotate it. Okay, let's go back to this view. Zoom in again. And scaling, same sort of thing. When you see it, it looks like a diagonal arrow. That means I can scale it. And same as before, if I drag it, it's just going to go all over the place. But if I hit down Shift, it's going to constrain it. It's going to keep it square. It's important that the square is a square. Okay? So I've got 4 squares. This is where you look at your rough work, and you want this to match your rough drawing. So I'm just going to do some random stuff here. I'm not too concerned about making this represent the word. What I really care about is I just want to make sure that I'm showing you how you can move stuff around, position it. And you can see, like, if I accidentally click, if I click on the middle, by the way, I'm using the black arrow tool. Very important that you use the black arrow tool. Weird things happen when you use the white arrow. White arrow tool is great if you just want to pick one corner, but you see what happens is now it changes the shape of that square. So I'm going to do Command Z. Choose the black arrow tool. So this is called it's a little bit confusing. It's called the selection tool, and this is called the direct selection tool. So we want the black one. Okay. Let's just finish our composition here. Let's say that is great. This represents crowded. I'm going to hit save. Now might as well just make the other one as well. So the other one is alone. So now I'm going to hit File, Save As, and I'm going to call this one Alone. Great. Save. Okay, very good. And then we're going to make this one the Alone version. So I'm going to move these, again, only scaling and only scale and rotate. That's all you can do with this assignment. You're just scaling and rotating these shapes. Let's see. Do that. Sure. Okay. Something that I want to point out. This whole time, I've been messing around with these squares, moving these squares around, rotating them, scaling them. But you'll notice they are just black. They're black squares. There's no outline. If you have an outline, it's going to look like this. Oh, nothing happened because I didn't select them. So let's just select them. And I'm going to choose white from over here for the stroke. Now, I don't want to see this. You should never see, there should be no white outline. I just want to make sure that's very clear. No white outline. Make sure that your stroke is nothing. There should be no white outline. Okay. Let's call that good for alone. This is my alone. I'm gonna scale this down. You know what? I didn't select everything because I can see this one still has a white outline. Let's just make it none. Good. Good thing I caught that. Okay. Now I'll call this done. File. Save. Now I'm going to close it. Okay. So I've now created 2 4x4-inch files that have the contents. And I've got a layer here that says contents. So I want to bring my contents in. Easiest way to do that is this. And I'm going to demonstrate why this is what I consider to be the best way to do this. So I'll hit crowded. I can just drag it in. So here I have my folder, and I'm just going to drag crowded in, and I'm just going to drop it. Look at that. And then I hit enter. Actually, I don't even have to hit enter. And then alone. Just drag and drop right into the open Illustrator document. Okay, now we want to put them into position. One thing I noticed when I did this earlier, so it's important that we position it right, is it's important that we have the contents under the frames, which makes sense. You want to have the frame on top of the contents. So all I did here, so you see how I built it? I built it with contents above frame. This is the way to see this is the way that everything is stacked here is how it's stacked inside the document. So guides are on the bottom, then frames are on top, then contents are on top of that, and then text is on top of that. But I actually want the content to be under the frames. So I'm going to select this, hold down, click and hold down, and I'm going to drag it down. You see it there's a little blue thing that happens. When you see the blue thing under the frames, release. Now I've moved contents under frames. That's great. And I'm going to zoom in and just make sure that everything is positioned right. I like it. I think it's good. Yeah, this looks good. Might be a little bit low. Maybe. I'll zoom in on this corner. Yeah, it's a little low. Maybe. It's hard to tell. I think that's pretty good. I think it's in the right spot. Okay, same with this one. Let's put this one into position. Zoom in. And I'm going to the corner, by the way. So I'm using so there's a zoom tool here, right here, the magnifying glass. Click and drag. So you'll notice when I drag down and to the right, it zooms in. When I click up and to the left, it zooms out. So I want to go in here, zoom right in here, and I want to get this into position. All right, perfect. It's in position. So I just used my arrow key to put it into position. And by the way, every time I kind of zoom out, I'm hitting a shortcut. It's just Command 0. It brings me back to see the entire document. Okay. Well, I'm done, right? I think I am. I think I'm done. But you know what? I'm somebody who likes to make changes, and I go, I don't like it exactly. Okay, so if I don't feel like I like this entirely, I can actually change it. But I'm not going to change it here because it's just kind of placed in here as an image. So how do I change it? Well, I can just go back in here. Actually, let me just try one thing. No, you know what? The easiest way to do it is just go back to the folder. Let's say alone. Oh no, I want to make major changes to alone. Let's make some major changes to alone. I actually decide, I feel like I want alone. I want this guy to be over here. I want it to be even smaller. I want these guys to be, let's see, let's just drag them all the way over here. Yeah, that's better. Okay, now that's what I want. I decided, oh, I'm going to make it even smaller. I've just decided I just want to make this really tiny. Oh, maybe I'll pull it out here. Oh, that's too tiny. Good. Okay, good. That's what I want. I decided, save. And you can do this, by the way, as much as you want. I'm going to close it. It's Command W, or, where is it now? It's got to be here. Close. There it is, Command W. Okay. Hey, it didn't change. What do I do? Okay, there's something called links. So these are actually, the reason why they look like this is they're actually linked in here. Oh, look at this. It all of a sudden says some files are missing or modified in the links panel. Would you like to update them now? I actually would, because I want to update the changes. Yes. It changed. Yay. Okay, so now it just kind of prompted me to say, do you want, it looks like a link has changed. Do you want to update the change? Yeah, I do. Okay, let's do the same with crowded. I'm not going to make huge changes. Oh, well, maybe I do. Let's just make this box like ridiculously huge. There. Not sure if this really conveys the idea of crowded, but sure, let's just do that. Same thing I'm going to do is File, Save, File, Close. Okay, back here. It didn't update. Oh, there, it popped up. Some files are missing or modified in the links panel. Would you like to update them now? Yes. There we go. And now it's updated. So the reason why I like this version, this way of doing it, is it's clean. It's super easy. It means that everything is like I can change anything I want. It's linked in there. Now what I can do, I'm going to Windows and I can look at the links. I want to show you something that happens. So let's just put links. I'll just keep it here because I just want to show you. So this is the links palette. It's actually showing me that Alone and Crowded are in here. I want to show you what happens before that dialog comes up and says, hey, there's a change. Do you want to update it? Like for instance, oh, okay, perfect. Let's do this. So I've got Alone. I'm going to go in there and let's say I'm just going to move it slightly and hit Save, Close. Okay. Well, let's say I accidentally say, it says, would you like to update it? And I go, no. Oh, whoops, I forgot. I actually do want to update it. So then I can go to Windows Links. Okay, whoops, I just closed it. But Windows Links, open it up. There's a nice little dialog here showing me, or a nice little warning saying, that's telling me that this link, there's something broken, something changed about it. So what I can do, there's a thing here that says Update Link, this swirly arrowy thing. Can I zoom in on that? Oh, I can't zoom in on that. But I love that it's got, yeah, it's not going to do that. But let's just say I hit no. Select this one and I'll hit this little icon and that updates. And you can see that little warning goes away. So that's how you do that. Okay, now I'm going to save this because I want to save all my changes. Save. Now if I close this and I go and open it up again, it's going to go right back to where I had it. Okay, and I can check my links just to make sure everything's cool. Links, yep, it's all good. Okay, we're good. Now I got to save this as a PDF. So I'm going to save as, and I have to change the format down here. So down here it says Format. Change that to PDF. Now hit Save. It's going to ask me what type of PDF. For our purposes, I recommend that you go with PDF X1A 2001. This is actually a printing standard, and as the number indicates, this has actually been a printing standard since 2001. So it's a very old standard, but it works, and it's what all. If I went to print this is how I actually print stuff. I would hit this setting. So I'll just hit 2001, Save PDF. Saving as PDF X may disable some editing features. Cool, that's fine. All right. That's it. So I hope that's clear. I hope that makes sense to everybody. If you have any questions about anything I've said, just let me know, okay? I am happy to help. So yeah. Let's give it a shot. Okay? Happy creating. And I will see everybody next class.